Hey everyone, good to see you. So, did Social Security really pay benefits to someone 112 years old? Are undocumented people getting checks? And is the trust fund gone? These are the kinds of wild claims making the rounds thanks to Elon Musk and his Doge team. And it's time we cleared things up. You see, when it comes to Social Security, misinformation can hit hard because it impacts real people. People like you, your parents, your grandparents, maybe even your own retirement someday. Now, what you might not know is that the Social Security Administration has passed every financial audit for the past 31 years. That's right, 31 years in a row. Clean audits, no red flags. Meanwhile, other federal departments, some with a lot more flash and funding, can't say the same. So, if you've heard the talk that Social Security is broken, missing money, or on the verge of collapse, well, we got to break that down. Because there's more going on here than just a few viral tweets or headlines. Stick with me, because by the end of this, you'll have a clear picture of what's real, what's exaggerated, and what it all means for your future and your peace of mind. Also, if you find value in this kind of clear, no-drama financial breakdown, I'd love for you to subscribe and stay connected. This is the kind of space where we keep it calm, informed, and community-focused. So, let's start with what's been going around online. Elon Musk and a team loosely referred to as the Doge team have been taking shots at the Social Security Administration. They've claimed there's fraud, outdated systems, waste, and even people over 112 years old still collecting checks. Sounds wild, right? But let's look at what's really going on behind those claims. One of the most repeated accusations is that the SSA is handing out benefits to dead people. That's the kind of thing that sticks in your head, like, wow, that's insane. How can that happen? But here's what actually happened. The number they pointed to came from something called the Numinant database. It tracks Social Security numbers over time. It's more like a digital filing cabinet for records, not something used to send out payments. You see, the SSA uses something different for payments. It's called the Master Beneficiary Record. That's the actual source of who gets paid. And there's no verified evidence of checks being sent out to people who passed away a century ago. So then, why stir up that confusion? Well, you see, sometimes it's easier to point fingers than to offer solutions. But misinformation like that just creates fear, especially among people who already rely on Social Security every month. And speaking of fear, another claim they pushed is that 40% of all calls to the SSA are about direct deposit fraud. Now, if that were true, that would be a huge red flag. But it turns out that number was taken out of context. That 40%, it's not 40% of all calls. It's 40% of fraud-related calls. The SSA gets over 6 million calls every month. Only about 22,000 of those involve direct deposit fraud. That's a fraction of a percent. So, this isn't a scandal. It's customer service handling problems that come up just like any other system. Now, you might be wondering, why does Elon Musk really care about this? Why would the Doge crowd turn their attention to Social Security of all things? Well, part of it might be political. There are people out there, some very powerful, who have been trying to privatize Social Security for decades. They see it as a big pot of money the government controls, and they want Wall Street to run it instead. When public trust in the SSA goes down, when people start doubting the system, that's when these same voices step in and say, hey, why not let private companies handle this? But handing Social Security over to investors and shareholders, that's not a guaranteed upgrade. That's a massive shift in risk onto everyday people. And here's where it gets personal. Right now, 11,000 baby boomers are turning 65 every single day. That's not just a number. That's millions of families, conversations at kitchen tables, bills being paid or not paid based on whether that check comes in. And yet, even with all this demand, the SSA is operating with fewer staff than it had 50 years ago. Imagine a restaurant cutting its wait staff by half while doubling its customers. That's what's happening, and still, the SSA keeps operating with an overhead of under 1%. That's right, less than 1% of the money goes to administration. That's incredibly efficient, especially for a federal program. If a company like Tesla or SpaceX had overhead that low, people would be praising their cost management. But when SSA does it, it gets ignored, or worse, criticized for not being shiny enough. Now, let's talk about another big myth that's been floating around for years. The idea that the Social Security Trust Fund has been raided, or that it doesn't exist anymore. Maybe you've heard this from a neighbor or read it in a comment online. But that's not true. The trust fund is real. It holds treasury bonds backed by the full faith and credit of the US government. These bonds pay interest. Every month, they help cover the gap between payroll taxes and benefit payments. So, no one stole the trust fund. That's political language designed to spark anger, not reflect reality. Though that said, the trust fund is still projected to run into problems. If nothing changes, it could be depleted around 2033 or 2034. And that would mean automatic benefit cuts, about 21 or 22% less. So that's serious. But it's not a secret, and it's not sudden. We've known about this for years, and there are clear ways to fix it. One of the biggest solutions? Raising the cap on payroll taxes. Right now, in 2025, only the first $176,100 of your income gets taxed for Social Security. Anything above that, no tax. So, someone making $10 million a year stops paying into the system just a few minutes into January 1st. But if we lifted that cap, or at least raised it significantly, it would bring in billions more dollars and keep the program strong for decades. And economists across the board agree on that. You see, this isn't about hating the rich or punishing success. It's about fairness and sustainability. Everyone pays in and everyone benefits. That's the core of Social Security. And for it to keep working, high earners need to contribute their share, just like everyone else. What's more, when people like Elon Musk claim SSA can't track payments properly, that it has no codes for auditing, that's just not true. Every Social Security payment includes something called a benefit identification code. It tells you whether the payment is for retirement, survivor benefits, disability, or something else. It's built into the system. Suggesting otherwise just spreads confusion. And now, there's one more layer to this. The technology at SSA is old. No doubt about that. They've been using systems that date back decades. But that's not because the agency doesn't care. It's because every time they ask Congress for money to modernize their systems, they get ignored, or worse, get the funding approved, and then it's pulled later. It's frustrating. It's slow. But it's not because SSA is asleep at the wheel. It's because of political decisions. And those decisions matter. Because while billionaires can afford to wait, most people can't. When misinformation spreads, it creates panic. When access to benefits is delayed, it causes stress. When people don't know if their check will come in, that's a real-world problem, not a theoretical one. And no, having the Treasury Department second-guess SSA's benefit approvals doesn't fix that. It just adds another layer of confusion. So then, what does this mean for you? It means that while the headlines might sound dramatic, the reality is more steady, more reliable, and more hopeful than you might think. The SSA isn't perfect, but it's not broken either. It's efficient, it's transparent, and it's essential. So, if you care about keeping Social Security strong, pay attention to who's telling the story and why. Are they offering solutions? Are they backing up their claims with facts? Or are they just trying to stir the pot? And now I want to hear from you. Do you feel confident in Social Security's future? Have you had good or bad experiences dealing with the SSA? Let's talk about it in the comments. I read what you share, and it helps shape what we cover next. And if you're still here, thank you. These topics matter, and the more we understand them, the better we can protect the systems that support us all. And if this helped you, or it gave you something to think about, give it a like and consider subscribing. We'll keep cutting through the noise together. Take care, and I'll see you soon.